I think we can just, let's get started. Okay, so this is exciting. Woohoo, everyone. ETHDenver, woo, Infra Gardens. So thanks everyone for joining today on this last panel, but we'll make it a fun one. It's the trendiest topic happening in crypto, so how can it be boring? Intersection of AI and crypto with great panelists here. I'm the moderator, Camila Russo from the Defiant, the best source of information for DeFi. I hope everyone's subscribed to all of our channels. And then I'll let the panelists introduce themselves and explain what their projects do and how they are at the intersection of AI and crypto. So Philippe, you can start.
Thank you. So my name's Philippe. I'm head of BD at Synternet. We're building the largest inference and signal hub for DeFi. We have a permissionless PubSub infrastructure that makes it possible for projects that generate valuable DeFi data to put a price on it, share it in real time, so that collaboration can help understand the cross-chain complexities of the landscape that we work with.
Hey guys, this is Ram. I'm one of the core contributors at OpenLedger. OpenLedger is a blockchain network for AI. We enable people to contribute datasets and build specialized AI models and let that be accessed by AI agents and apps and so on. So think of us to be the Web3 version of Hugging Face. I'm happy to be here and have conversations around AI.
How's it going, everyone? My name is Matt. I'm part of the Avalanche business development team. Been at Avalanche for just about 3 years. Avalanche is the servicing firm behind the Avalanche blockchain network. Avalanche, like I mentioned, is kind of an interconnected network of multiple blockchains that are composable that kind of feel like one singular chain. We do have a permissionless instance of the EVM called the C chain, which is kind of our liquidity layer is in terms of most DeFi applications. But thanks for having me.
Hi everyone, my name is Edgars Nemše. I am the co-founder and chief product officer of Jaeger AI, which is the company building GenLayer. And GenLayer is, at a very high level, it's AI-based, large language model-based decision-making platform. So at a more concrete level, we have this consensus mechanism between many different large language models, which can resolve these contracts that we call intelligent contracts. And these contracts can connect directly to the internet to fetch any data, and they can execute natural language instructions inside the contract. So you can do different kind of things like self-resolving prediction markets, autonomous DAOs, all kinds of dispute resolution. So yeah, thank you for having me here.
Awesome, thanks everyone. So Edgars, let's start with double clicking on kind of what you do and how AI can enhance smart contracts functionality.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe it's good to start with the limitations of current smart contracts, which might be obvious or you accept them kind of automatically, but it's good to point them out, which is one, they're completely disconnected from the outside world. So you need either oracles for narrow types of data feeds that bring in all kinds of data, price feeds and such. Or if you want to make kind of more one-off type of information, who won the election, anything like that, you're doing a prediction market, then you need humans at this point in time to bring in this information, verify it, submit it to the chain. And the other point is that it seems almost too trivial to say, but you write these smart contracts in code, in low-level code, in Solidity. Well, it kind of happens that, actually the most types of contracts that we might do on a paper, I want to hire you to write me a blog post. It's not something we can actually even specify in low-level code. It requires natural language to describe these conditions. What is a good blog post? What is a bad blog post? It's not something you can describe in low-level formal code. So basically at GenLayer, we realized that, hey, we now have this new cool technology called large language models. We can actually design a chain, design a platform that gets rid of these limitations, enables a lot more powerful smart contracts. We call them intelligent contracts. So I mentioned this prediction market use case. So you can have a intelligent contract that says, go to BBC, fetch some articles, use the LLM to extract the answer, who won the election, resolve this prediction market, much faster, much cheaper than doing that with people. You can use them for more complex decision making. So let's say you want to reward your community members for writing good quality content on Twitter, right? You can design an intelligent contract where it ingests the tweet that's submitted to it and then evaluates this tweet on a number of different categories. How interesting is this tweet? How accurate is this tweet according to all the project's documentation? Can assign a score to it and then distribute tokens proportional to that. So really it becomes, it kind of, I feel it almost fulfills the promise of the name smart contract in the sense that you can take all these contracts that you could today only do on a paper contract. It's not actually possible to do in a smart contract. You can do in an intelligent contract on GenLayer and really bring a ton of use cases that we still need either human judges or human-based oracles or all these kind of systems to fully automate them and have them working at the speed of AI, the cost of AI, and self-enforcing all the great benefits that we know of smart contracts.
And for these, smart contracts to get these AI capabilities, how do they fetch this data? Is it kind of like related to why we're here with DIA?
Yeah.
Do they use oracles for that?
So basically, we realized looking at large language models that a single large language model is actually a centralized system in and of itself. It's a biased entity. It's a probabilistic entity. It's going to be right 99% of the time. It's going to be wrong 1% of the time, which is, good for many things, but maybe not for, a DAO holding $1 billion trying to decide whether it's going to send out the money or not, right? It's not good enough. So we kind of realized that what you want to do is actually you want to take many large language models, or to be more precise, many validators running many different large language models, and we designed the consensus mechanism whereby all these different language models can check each other's work and aggregate their intelligence and then eliminate any hallucinations, any mistakes. And this approach actually works for any kind of non-deterministic operation, basically going to the web. And this is the fundamental reason why a normal smart contract is disconnected from the web, is that they're entirely deterministic. But the web, it changes all the time. I go to a web page, it's down, or the timestamp has changed, or the content has changed, it changes every time I make a call. Similarly, a natural language instruction is actually non-deterministic. If you ask 1 million people to make a summary of a blog post, you're going to get 1 million different summaries. There's not one summary that's objectively correct. So we designed this consensus mechanism that uses large language models at the consensus level itself, so the way they can compare the answers they get, which basically enables them to connect to any external source and come to agreement about that, and also execute these natural language instructions by checking each other's work, aggregating their intelligence, and achieving really high levels of accuracy.
Nice. So it's like supercharging consensus of like a bunch of different data points.
Exactly. It's, instead of trusting one guy, which basically, or a girl, whatever a large language model is, you imagine, you're actually designing a system more like you would out of biased humans, which is really what they are more closer to.
Do you guys have like a threshold of consensus when is basically, considered the right answer? Or what does that look like?
We do it in stages. So we start with a small subset of all the validators, so 5 of them, one of which is the leader, and they first propose the answer using their own large language model, and then the 4 other validators check what the leader has done, see if they agree with the leader or not. If they agree, then it's provisionally accepted, but it could still go wrong, just randomly or maliciously for whatever reason. Then anybody in the network can escalate and appeal this transaction, which brings in twice as many validators. They check again the current output and potentially generate a new output, and that way you can get up to all the 1,000 validators checking the same transaction. So it's kind of on demand. You can escalate it to as high of a level of certainty as you need.
Matt, okay, so we've been discussing how AI improves smart contracts capabilities. How do you think AI can improve just base layer 1 capabilities?
Yeah, so over the past, 6 months to a year, it's been interesting because I think the first iteration that people really paid attention to of AI was like truth terminal and GOAT and whatnot, because virtual existed roughly, 3 or 4 months before that on base, and no one really cared for whatever reason. And then I think GOAT and Truth Terminal opened up people's eyes to what AI meets blockchain, like the true capabilities could be. And they started taking it more and more seriously. I mean, there's obviously been like Aether, BitTensor, et cetera before that. But I feel like that was like the moment, the 0 to 1 moment when people really started paying attention. And with that, I think those early use cases were unfortunately just purely speculatory, meaning it started to, in my opinion, replace meme coins, because a lot of these agents that were just your stereotypical LLMs or chatbots or something similar You no longer had to bootstrap your community via real humans. You could just have an agent that's producing content, tweeting, making memes, etc. And with that, I think the more like longevity and sustainable style of use case is something that is almost like a smart wallet or helping your everyday blockchain user do tasks that might be relatively complex in nature that they might not be able to do by themselves, and just basically speaking to an AI agent in terms of executing various tasks within DeFi or blockchain more holistically, whether it be bridging or LPing within a DEX or swapping between assets. I think that's probably like the next iteration of what we're going to see. I think Hey Anon, Griffin, and a few others have done this pretty well, and it's only going to get better in the next 3 to 6 months. I think there's also quite a bit of like good AI use cases in regards to like data querying and proxying, especially of like on-chain data. A lot of that has to be done potentially at the VM level, but I think it'll be interesting in terms of like next-gen use cases similar to that.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, the first iterations of AI use cases have been pretty basic. It's just like, okay, just a chat bot like tweeting out memes and just like, you know, reply guys and these, meme coins that have already crashed.
And don't look under the hood, you know, you don't want to know how decentralized it is, right?
But yeah, I think obviously the potential is much greater than what we've seen. So Ram, can you, some of your thoughts on what's exciting to you and how OpenLayer plays a part of that?
Open Ledger. So it's not Open Layer, sorry, it's Open Ledger.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's fine. So what was the question? Like, what do you want on?
How does Open Ledger fit into kind of this next set of like more exciting, more sophisticated?
Yeah. So I think like I've been telling this for quite a while, almost about the 10 panels that I've attended in the last few weeks. So like if you take a look at the comparison in the traditional space, when OpenAI launched ChatGPT, most of the agents that came about were a wrapper around ChatGPT, right? They didn't have like any different use case, just different UI, answering the same questions the same way. Non-deterministic, but still, giving out the similar aspects. Nothing specialized about it. But it kind of evolved from there. We saw apps like Perplexity, which used much better use cases. It became much better than, in certain cases, much better than Google search and all that, right? And the reason why is because they use multiple smaller or specialized models, which were, better than using a large language model. They still use OpenAI to get a context of the question, but use a smaller model, like a fee model, to give you an answer which is much more precise. I think that's going to happen in Web3 space as well. Most of the agents that we saw were meme-ish, were Twitter bots. They didn't have any kind of utility. And the reason why is because, again, they use an OpenAI large language model in the backend, and they use a bunch of system prompts with some persona being added to it, right? Agents will evolve very similarly what we've seen in the traditional space. I think agents will come back to become much more better use cases. I personally feel that AI agents on-chain will be the new dApps on-chain. We will start to see much better use cases, especially in use cases around DeFi and all that, right? So when you have all these kind of different verticals, like for example, I've always told this, like in YC's last 30 investments, the 20 investments that they've made of the top 30 is on agents that were on particular vertical, right? Agents for healthcare, medical, and all that. And what do you need for them? You need specialized models that can provide data feeds and knowledge base for these agents, right? You can't use a larger language model. The larger language model has like very generic intent data. It doesn't have any specialized data set. So if you want to build an agent which is purpose-driven for a particular use case, they need a model that can enable these agents to be better. And that is what OpenLedger provides. We provide an infrastructure on which users can contribute data sets and build specialized AI models on top of us. Think of us to be like the Web3 version of Hugging Face. And we have like an attribution layer which figures out which model is using which particular data set. On every inference, we attribute the data set that contributed for this inference to happen, and then we use that for rewarding and explaining the model better. So our thesis is that, as I was telling you guys, that Agents will come back better. Agents will be much more useful than what we see them today. Every infra, every apps will use agents as their front-facing platform. And for those agents, we want to provide specialized models which are much more useful compared to the existing models that are there. And that's what we do in OpenLedger.
And then, Philippe, in your case, I love your take on the results you've seen so far on how AI-driven asset management compares to non-AI-driven. Or like, what are the results that you see? Provide transparency for those kind of decision-making processes that the AI.
So the results, I think we're going to see in not now, not just in a few months. So we're still in the testing phase. But what we're working on with some of the agents that are using our data streams. So just to repeat it again, we make data streams available in a permissionless manner. So anyone who has off-chain data, on-chain data, past data, inferences, they can put a price on it and start building on top of this. So you will be able to leverage the work of other people to make your own decisions, right? So a simple use case is, let's say there are 10 agents making a price prediction for BTC based on price feeds, news feeds, movements on chain from sexes to sexes, and they start making a prediction, and then models can be built on top that use all of those to make their own decisions, right? So it's all about the collaboration. And what we see right now in the cross-chain landscape is that blockchain data is very difficult to work with in general. Now it's scattered across different networks. There are different assets moving left, right, being included in different protocols on leverage. So risk is being shared across a number of different vectors that make it more complex to understand. And we don't believe that one entity will ever understand everything by themselves and be able to tell you the truth. So it's only the hyper specialization that you guys were telling on specific data sets and specific inferences that will help DeFi get to a place where there might be some sort of agentic cross-chain trading possible. But yeah, it's for us, it's really on the collaboration. If you need redundancy, you create redundancy, and you subscribe to different agents, to different inferences, different data sources, and that's what's gonna get us to that stage. But on what we're seeing now, we're testing. Right, so it's not like there is loads of activity, but I think that for the chains and stuff, that's very interesting because agentic transactions will be pushing the volume probably the way that humans cannot do it. Yeah.
I love your sense also, because I think there's like one aspect is having AIs help humans interact with blockchains in an easier way. Like, okay, swap ETH for USDC and then deposit that on Aave and take out a loan and have an AI execute that for you. So that's kind of one version of like helping trading be easier. And then the other one is just like providing financial insights from just like gathering data across chains and like finding arbitrage opportunities. So in which kind of area are you specializing in? Where do you see kind of most potential now? Like maybe kind of like just like financial advice from AIs is like a longer term thing. I don't know.
Yeah, so there are a couple of things that we're working on with DeFi protocol, with liquid staking protocols, right? Once you stake your token and you get the liquids token, then you can use this one in different DeFi protocols and usually cross-chain. And imagine that you have your position that generates 3% yield, and then there is a massive influx of flows into this vault, and then it drops to 2%. And at the same time, you can see in real time that on a different chain with similar risk scoring, you could optimize your yield generation, and the agent might be able to come and say, hey, look, if you do that, you might be able to generate more yield because your position has just changed. So this is what we're working on with some projects. But for me, the ultimate goal, I think, is to make agents are going to be the chain abstraction tool, I think, right? Because right now we have chain abstraction layers, chain abstraction solutions, but we still need to understand what the chain is, what it is, sign transactions. But once we do get to this trust level where we give the agents our funds and access to our wallet and execute transactions on our behalf, this is when maybe mass adoption might come. We're talking about mass adoption for the last 6, 7, 10, 8 years. We're not there yet because it's complex. And if these agents can at least initially tell you, hey, look, you have a better option here, you have a better option there, that would be the first step. And then once we trust them and we have security measures in place that make sure that they don't get hacked, because they will get hacked at some point. That's always a fail and try again, right? But yeah, that's when chain abstraction is gonna truly happen, because I don't think that we will be able to unify it in a different way for mass adoption.
I think that's exactly what I'm most excited about in like the short term. I think the lowest hanging fruit in regards to AI is especially true within DeFi. It'll be interesting just seeing like AI agent trading opportunities regarding Twitter sentiment around new tokens or something like that, or once a token hits a certain number of holders, like buy that token because it's, I don't know, basically trending, something along those lines. I think to your point, it's going to be very important to have guardrails regarding these trading strategies or even like yield generation opportunities for AI agents. And so I think the first iteration will be fun to mess around with, but I don't know if I trust it enough to put more than like a couple $1,000s in. And I think we'll also probably see some sort of like parameters these agents allow you to put in regarding like, all right, I want low risk yield opportunities. All right, then you can have like Aves of the world, Euler, Morphos, etc. Just blue chip DeFi protocols that have been around for a while, been audited multiple times, might have real time security built in terms of like basically circuit breakers within their smart contracts if suspicious activity is happening. And so it'll be super interesting. Personally, I think as long as the guardrails are good, I'm very bullish on this kind of area within blockchain.
Just to add to that, like the first point, right? There is a team which is building a model on top of us, which is a Web3 alpha model, which is a specialized model that is trained on data which is around like off-chain sentiments, like Twitter sentiments and stuff like that, and also lots of on-chain data as well, which can enable agents which can help you like do like smaller trades, like swaps and stuff like that. Definitely, like it won't be like a quant. It will not like do high frequency trades, but it can enable people to have like the easier onboarding towards DeFi, right? So it can like you can basically give it an intent, like give me like the top 10 coins that are trending in Solana, and call this contract and swap for this token to that, right? So all of that can be done using this model. So we've had people experimenting this on our platform right now. So yeah, so I think we're just getting there. Just there needs to be like more infrastructure to support that.
We've been talking about how AI improves crypto, but I think it's also interesting to discuss how crypto can help AI. So right now, the biggest AI companies are centralized, right? That introduces a great deal of risk and potentially bias and so on. With AIs becoming more and more powerful, that becomes an even bigger problem if all of the world's data is concentrated in centralized companies. So what's your view here? I mean, is there an opportunity to decentralize AI to have just blockchains be the backbone of the biggest AI companies in the future? Whoever wants to.
I think absolutely, and across every layer of the stack. Because what is crypto really good at? It's at designing incentive systems that align the incentives across many parties. I mean, just this morning, Vitalik posted a blog post where he argues that you don't want to actually get locked into any specific model. They're all centralized. What you wanted to do is design an incentive system that kind of helps align the incentives, what humans want AI to do, and then creates this game of incentives where all these different AI models and providers can come, compete, get feedback, and kind of improve, and as a way to line it together. And I think it works, all the way from gathering data sets to training the models. We've seen the first decentralized train models coming out from Prime Intellect, super cool. Then for inference, and all the way up to actually, having these agents that work together, hopefully on our behalf more than, their own behalf, and ultimately have a way for them all to work together. So yeah, I think absolutely across every layer of the stack, crypto with these incentive design mechanisms enables us to design a world where hopefully AI and humans can work together, and we still have some place in the world, and we're not all dead, right?
Also, just one thing to add to that, right? So if you take a look at Internet when it came about was very centralized, right? But there was open source and much more initial versions of decentralization through HTTPS, and that's what led to World Wide Web and all that happened. I think it's upon us to make AI as decentralized as possible. They could be like centralized players, but how do we make AI ourselves, right? How can we build our own versions of a model? How can we own our own data and build our own intelligence? I think that is what we can take leverage upon. There's no point in us fighting against building like a foundation model, because the cost and the time to do that will be extremely high. The best way to actually figure out what can we do with these models, how can we make them ourselves, right? That is where the conversation has to go on. And as he was mentioning, crypto does that really well. Like, for example, decentralized compute is a great way to showcase how we can incentivize by letting people contribute resources from across the globe and enable bootstrapping to happen. Like, for example, when before we raised money about a year back, we were like playing around with models, and we used AWS, and it cost us like $7 per hour to use a GPU, and we switched to Ether and cost like $1.50, right? So that's what incentivization really helps. It helps you bootstrap and helps you with innovations and stuff like that. So I believe that's how we need to start using crypto as well. How can we kind of make AI our own? How can we enable bootstrapping by providing incentivizing mechanisms?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think in a lot of ways, blockchains might even lower costs for these centralized entities. So like to your point, decentralized data sets. Maybe not the really large AI companies in terms of lowering their costs, but in terms of indie developers that just want to experiment with AI, being able to have decentralized, democratized access to these data sets that then they can train their own models on, I think would obviously lower their costs quite a bit, rather than having to essentially prune all that data themselves, query it, and especially design it for whatever kind of AI model they're trying to generate as well. And so I think regarding efficiencies for smaller organizations within AI, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and also on the monetization side, if you have different models working with each other, and that's if the model or the agent or whatever has a wallet and it can connect to different sources by itself, and then get the payment and then create this agent-to-agent economy, this machine-to-machine economy that is going to rule the world at some point. That's where crypto makes sense. The agents are not going to have a bank account; they are not going to be able to exchange value in a different way. So crypto is really good for that.
I also think like proof of legitimacy regarding like something is not AI generated is something that blockchain will also really help. Meaning, I don't know, if there's AI generated content of like public officials, it gets really dangerous, especially regarding like how markets trade, where everything's algorithmic. And so if there's an AI generated video of Jerome Powell saying something that he actually didn't say, it could move markets like billions, if not trillions of dollars in one direction or another. And so I do think blockchain is great for proof of legitimacy, saying like, hey, this is actually the person that generated this content rather than an AI or something like that.
All right, to start wrapping up, the panel comes. So sorry. Okay. To start wrapping up, it's always good to kind of take a look to the future. So I'd love all of your thoughts on what's making you most excited in this intersection. What do you hope to see get built? Not maybe in the far out future, but maybe become live in the next few months.
Yeah, for me, I think it's we kind of saw the potential of AI agents. The very first ones, the ones that are kind of tweeting stuff and not doing much else, but there's this kind of promise. And I think the promise is really exciting, which is that we're going to have this economy with many, many AI agents, probably way more agents than people, working together with each other, actually conducting productive economic activity. Let's say, I don't know, a website builder agent, and this guy wants to work with a logo generator agent and a copywriter agent. And, I think this is a way to make the world, the whole economy much more efficient, much more powerful. And, it's going to be really exciting to see all these little guys kind of doing their own thing. And I think it's, that's the way we can kind of scale the economy, set ourselves free, hopefully, and do a lot more than we ever have been able to.
I'm going to piggyback off of him a little bit in terms of I do think there's going to be thousands of AI agents, and something that I don't think, might not be the most useful or great for society, but it'll be interesting is once AI agents are just directly trading against one another or trying to arbitrage yield opportunities against one another, it'll get very interesting in terms of just who can basically create the best AI agent. Because that's what I was actually explaining this to someone earlier this week. That's when I think things get very dystopian or something in terms of like, all right, people aren't even managing these funds. It's just AI agents going at one another in terms of just on-chain like USDC or even just other crypto assets.
In terms of the Web3 sector, I believe like it's a very niche subject like governance. I think is quite slow in Web3. If we can have AI agents be like our twins who can go ahead and vote on governance and all that, I think that'll be really useful. DeFi obviously is a great use case. I think we will see a lot this year. And in terms of larger AI, I think physical AI is quite interesting. That also brings in a lot of need for security and aspects like that. So looking towards physical AI in the larger spectrum and in Web3 use cases like DeFi and governance.
Yeah, I can only back everything that's been said. I'm not gonna reinvent the world, reinvent the wheel. So yeah, for me, it's the governance aspect, of the blockchain that will determine how AI should evolve. I'm always concerned with something that we said: centralized entities that push out the truth, and when you go to the internet today and you Google something, all right, you get the CEO, the top information that you should be reading, and you can still make up your mind, right? So we're still supposed to be critical humans, but I'm a bit concerned that at some point if we use AI for everything and it just pushes out something that's supposed to be the truth, and we start believing it, then there is a real responsibility on what data is being generated. And I think that governance through the blockchain in terms of where AI is evolving is very important.
Well, I will mention maybe one thing where I think, especially in crypto, we should be concerned about, since we talked about like all the good use cases. I think being very careful with scams and how AI is making scammers so much better at their jobs, unfortunately. So I think we've seen how it works to our detriment, but I really hope that in very soon we'll start using AI to fight scammers back, because it really feels like scammers are winning. So that's one thing I hope to see. Just I don't know why. Okay. Anyways, thank you guys for joining, amazing panelists. And yeah, this is such an exciting sector. So great way to end the day. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.